Hi all, my name is Amal, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science, St. Albans College, Autonomous. Object-oriented programming concepts. I think we are all familiar with procedural-oriented programming. In the earlier C, we were dealing with procedure-oriented programming. What do you mean by procedure-oriented programming? We were focusing on functions. We were programming based on functions and based on variables, global as well as local variables. When it comes to object-oriented programming concepts, we were dealing with classes and objects. What are the key points when it comes to an object-oriented programming concepts? First one is object and class. In the procedural-oriented programming, we couldn't relate real-world objects into program. There were only local variables and variable concepts and functions. When it comes to OOPS concept, we could relate real-world objects into program. That is, if there is a library management system software, we could map books as an object to the software, and library management other aspects can be related to a particular software. And second one is instantiation and constructors. Come to encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. All these aspects were more beneficial in creating an efficient software when it comes to object-oriented programming. Starting with an example, suppose if you are having a library management system, the procedural-oriented system, we could only define functions to manage book issuing and book storing and new book addition. Everything could be related to functions. There was a serious issue of data management. Data was global in that particular scenario. That is, all functions can access all data and all functions can call all data. That was the major limitation in procedural-oriented programming. When it comes to object-oriented programming concepts, we could map data and we could abstract data and we could hide data, which is not used for any other purpose. There is a major concept when it comes to objects and classes. And there are so many other key points such as data abstraction, encapsulation, polymorphism, data reusability, inheritance, everything is there. But the major key point is data is more safe than a procedural-oriented programming system. Come to definition. Every object is having a state, identity, and a behavior. And what I mean by an identity? It's a distinguishment between classes. That is, as we all know, we are having objects which is an instance of a class. Suppose if there is a class named book, it is having some particular behaviors. That is, book is having a title, book is having an author, volume, page numbers, etc. there. Price, etc. is there. If you are creating an object for that particular book, that object is an instance of that particular class. That is a book. If I am creating 10 objects is having all this data storing capacity and we are updating data based on that. Coming to state, it's a collection of values and its variables. Coming to behavior, it's a capability enhanced by using methods. When it comes to library management system, if the librarian is issuing particular book, if a librarian is taking back a particular book, everything is our behavior in that particular library management system. All this can be managed by using methods, otherwise functions. Coming to collection of data, that is, we are having huge number of behavior and huge number of states of a particular object. As I mentioned earlier, when it comes to book, it's having author name, there will be multiple authors and price, number of pages, books, volume, everything is there. All these are state of particular objects. And coming to the contents and the availability of particular instance. If there is a library which is having 2000 books, we can create 2000 objects for saving 2000 book details. But when it comes to procedural-oriented programming, there may be a chance of creating variables or structures or something. Coming to class, we are having a most important feature of object-oriented programming system, that is, we can encapsulate data into a particular capsule-wise manner. That is, we can protect data from any other unwanted function calls. Come to object creation. Each time when we create an object, memory is allocated for that particular object. Suppose if there is a book is having author, as I mentioned earlier, so many features are there. There may be memory allocated for all these features. Whatever the data is there or not, initialized or not, memory is allocated for particular memory locations and particular book features. Coming to initialization, we can initialize objects in the very first time when we create it. For that, we are using constructors. This is one of the major features in object initialization. We can initialize objects in a particular predefined state. And when it comes to special method which is used to invoking objects, that is what we call it as constructors. Each time when a constructor is invoked, there may be some initialization code written by the program which is also working. That is, suppose if we want to initialize each book object by using a particular standard values, we can initialize by using constructors. Each time object is created, this constructor will be invoked. Come to encapsulation. It is one of the most key feature in object-oriented programming concept. That is data hiding. That is, the key point is an object can be accessed only by its corresponding methods. It cannot be accessed by any other unwanted methods. It can be accessed by only methods inside that particular class. So the data related to a particular class is only bounded to that particular class. It cannot be accessed by unwanted functions. So the data is more secure and hidden inside that particular class. And unnecessary implementation details. There is another unnecessary implementation details. What's the term referred for? It is for the complex calculations, complex methodologies initialized or done by a particular method. It is not given to outside that particular class. The result is only given outside of that particular class. There is unnecessary implementation can be hidden by using this class methodology. In Java as well as C++, we are having access modifiers to private, public, protector is there. We can prevent unnecessary implementation, unnecessary access to that particular class. And coming to inheritance. Inheritance is one of the major key feature in a particular object-oriented programming language, which is giving the efficiency which is improving the efficiency by giving the reusability. That is, programming language feature that allows to implicit definition of variables. There is class A and class B. If class B is inheriting class A, class B is getting all the features of class A. That is, the functions and the function implementation in class A can be accessed by B. So there is no need to write the code again in class B. We can directly code and we can directly inherit all the features of class A. This is what we call it as inheritance. And coming to data abstraction. One of the key features in data object-oriented programming concept is data abstraction. That is, all this data is abstracted into single capsule manner. And come to inheritance, what does the term abstract means? Successful reuse occurs only through careful planning and design. That is, we are abstracting all this data into a particular capsule and we are only giving object outside that particular class. We are calling all these objects, all this data by using its own methods. So we have to carefully plan inheritance, then only the programming system will work efficiently. Coming to polymorphism. Polymorphism means a particular function is acting in different manner in different locations. That is, here you can see one example. That is, move means something for a person object, but means something else for a car object. That is, move. There is a function name, method name move. It is something different meaning for a particular person. But when it comes to a object, it's a non-living object. Move means something else. There may be linear motion. Move for a particular person, then he may be jumping, he may be running. But moving for a particular car, there may be only forward motion, otherwise it's going to be reverse motion. This is what we call it as polymorphism. That is, a particular function is acting differently in different scenarios. Coming to dynamic binding as well as We are having objects, we are having all these methods. We are together bind it in a particular class. And each time a particular object is created, that particular object can call all these methods. This is what we call it as a binded abstract methods. Coming to software engineering, we are having a complex scenario of developing a particular software. Object-oriented programming concept is one of the key aspect and key core system where a particular programmer develop a particular software. That is data abstraction, data encapsulation, inheritance, reusability, polymorphism, all these factors together, he could develop an efficient software. Coming to proper use of OOP, there is, as I already mentioned, coming to the evolution from procedure-oriented program to object-oriented programming concept, we skip complete procedure programming into, we evolved into an object-oriented programming concept, that is classes and objects. We are using procedures in classes and objects, but we are limiting it in a particular class. Data were more free in procedure-oriented programming, but data is more binded and access specifiers in object-oriented programming concept. These are the major key concepts in object-oriented programming concepts. So the major difference between procedural-oriented programming and object-oriented programming is, first one is classes and objects. And second one is all these features, that is encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, and reusability. Thank you.